All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. We are talking today about buyers. So right now it is a super competitive market. If you have buyers, that's always exciting, but right now it's probably also a little bit difficult. So we're seeing lots of multiple offers on properties. Listings are going up. They're lasting about a week. They're holding off on offers. So you're probably representing your buyers and you're probably up against 10, 20, 30. I've heard up to 71 offers on a property. So really crazy. So we're going to talk about how to set their expectations at the beginning, because really you're going to have to prepare them for this, and you're going to want to talk to them about really positioning themselves well so that they're not hopefully disappointed over and over again. But do prepare them for a few rounds. They may not get the first property they're hoping to get. So definitely preparing them, having that expectation in place, and also really talking to them about right now in this market, going in with clean offers as much as possible, meaning firm. So if they haven't really confirmed their financing, get them to do that before you're submitting an offer. We also, coming this week, actually on Thursday, we have a home inspector joining us. So this ties in really well with today's webinar, because one of the things that you're going to want to do in this market is go in again with a firm offer, meaning no home inspection. Not every buyer is going to feel comfortable doing that. So if you have a buyer who's really hesitant to put a firm offer on a property that they haven't had a home inspector walk through, there are some mini home inspections that you can line up for your clients, which means that you book a home inspector for a half hour, 1 hour through. And that way it's less expensive, but it's also less thorough. But at least you have some sort of a report from a home inspector so that they can give your buyers a heads up as to if there are any glaring issues that they should be concerned with. So a couple of things to keep in mind, and definitely join us on Thursday at noon when we do speak to Michael Schmidt. He's going to be joining us from Home Masters. All right. So as I said, for today, our purpose here is we're talking about buyers. And one of the things we always talk about is where to find these buyers. So of course, we're so lucky here at Zolo that we get leads delivered to our inbox, into our CRM every day. So really that's probably where you're going to be finding most of your buyers. But definitely, double down on your efforts, think outside the box, think if there's a way that you can generate other buyer leads that are outside of the Zolo system so that you have those personal deals, those personal clients as well. So there's a chart here that, last year it was outdated. Now it's really outdated. I should find a new one for this. It's probably more than 52% that are using the internet to find their home. Definitely they start their search there and then they connect with an agent. So there's other sources, of course, that people are going to gravitate to if they're looking to buy. And it might be as simple as a yard sign. So if you do have a listing, don't forget to put that for sale sign outside. Certainly update it with the sold sign, because a lot of buyers will call interested in that particular property that hopefully you just sold, and that will generate buyers for you. So anytime you have a listing, it's definitely a good source of buyer leads. As you know, when you have a listing, it gets posted on realtor.ca, so you get those inquiries directly to you as well. So definitely that's another source. In addition, of course, to your own sphere, right? Your friends, your family, your relatives, those are probably going to be your personal buyer leads when you start out. And then hopefully, again, as I said, you're doubling down on your Zolo efforts with that sphere of influence as well. So lots of different sources. We can get into some ideas here. But as I said, most of your leads are going to be coming into your Zolo CRM. So this is not something that you have to do. You just have to select your neighborhoods, talk to your growth manager, make sure that you're getting leads in the areas that you work. So you're going to see them right on your dashboard. We don't keep it a secret, and we definitely send you an email and a text message letting you know that you have a hot lead, somebody who is requesting information about a property. Now, sometimes you'll have a lead calling you about a particular property, and hopefully they've caught it in time where offers are happening maybe, Monday or, a few days from now. But of course, there will be times when a buyer inquires about a property and that property has already sold, maybe conditionally. So definitely don't forget about those leads. There's still buyers who are interested in a property. So you want to go in and you want to make sure that you are speaking to the lead, letting them know that it has sold conditionally, but it looks like it's conditional on, let's say, an inspection or financing. Again, we're not seeing a lot of that right now, but there are times maybe when it's conditional on the deposit being delivered. So, if that's the status, let them know and then update them the next day. Did it sell? Did it firm up? Or did it fail? Did those buyers not deliver the deposit check? In which case you can let them know, do you still want to go take a look at this property? Or is there something else that's similar that I can show you? So even though they might be inquiring about a property that's already sold, don't dismiss them, still see it as an opportunity, still reach out to them, still talk to them about that property and how you might be able to help them with something similar. So definitely having those conversations. So not disregarding anybody, of course, that comes into the CRM. All right, so the reverse buyer search is something that is also available to you as a Zolo agent. So if there is a property down the street from you, maybe next door from you, how nice would it be to sell that property? You can definitely go in and under tools, there is a tool called reverse search. So again, this is a unique feature to Zolo, and it's available to you guys sparingly. So you don't want to be, abusing this, but you can definitely go ahead and look up buyers in the reverse search. So what does that mean? It means that you can, again, take that property that was just listed down the street from you, and you can go ahead and put in that MLS number into the reverse search. So if you click on reverse search under tools, you'll see another screen come up where it asks you for the MLS listing that you are hoping to find a buyer for. So all you have to do is plug in that MLS listing, click on the button, find buyers, and you're going to see everybody who has inquired about that property. So let's assume here that this is the house down the street from you. You live in Oakville in College Park. So you would copy and paste that MLS listing, put it into that reverse search. And when you click on find buyers, you'll see a list that looks like this. So you're going to have asterisks and flames. So you're going to have icons that appear beside the names of each lead that has looked at this particular property. So maybe Kelly is interested in this particular property. Maybe Ed is interested in this particular property. Keep in mind that these leads are assigned to other Zolo agents. So if there's a red flame, that means that they're a hot lead in someone else's CRM. So just respect that, leave those ones alone. But the ones that do have the green asterisks, those ones, yes, have been assigned to an agent, but they are in the back end of the CRM. So they haven't been approached, they haven't been called. So those ones you can, approach and promote the property to them, see if they're interested. And again, if they're not interested in that particular property, hopefully you can find them something similar. So it is a way to find additional buyers. So that's available to you. Again, use it sparingly. Otherwise the system will kind of prevent you from using that tool. It is something that if you have an ideal property that you would like to sell, that you use it in those situations only. And of course, if you have your own listing, you could certainly go in here and find buyers for your own listings as well. So that exists. It is available to you in the CRM. So we've talked about hot leads and we've talked about the reverse search. So definitely those are two ways that you can find buyers just using the Zolo system. But again, let's double our efforts. So what else can we do to supplement that? So again, we're assuming that we are receiving leads every day, maybe every other day with buyer leads. So what do you do with those leads? Again, I already talked a little bit about reaching out to them about the property they inquired about, and then maybe trying to, of course, update them on that particular property, hopefully show it to them, hopefully submit an offer at offer deadline. But if it's no longer available, then hopefully showing them properties that are similar. But what else can you do with leads who, maybe say to you, no, I was just interested in that one property. I'm good. No, thanks. This is a conversation that you've had. So this is an opportunity for you to build your book of business. So if you've spoken to that buyer lead, maybe ask them if they would be willing to receive updates from you periodically. Maybe you send them an email, just letting them know what the market is doing right now. And maybe you attach, your email signature with maybe some links to your social media. This is all going to be a way for you to stay engaged with those leads. So again, we're fortunate here at Zolo that we do have those leads coming in. We have access to a reverse search tool, but maybe you double those efforts by sending out a monthly newsletter, right? Because maybe if they're not ready now, hopefully they're ready, next month, in 6 months, in a year. So, you may not remember them in a year, but if you have been sending out emails every month on a consistent basis, they're going to remember you. So that's really the idea here. And that's really the trick. And again, I mentioned having maybe an email signature where you send them information about the property. Maybe you ask them questions about their search criteria. You reiterate whatever it was that you spoke about on the phone. And then again, include in your email signature, your social media account. So hopefully you have a Facebook business page. Hopefully you have an Instagram account. There's lots of fun stuff that you can do on social media to generate buyer leads. So that's something that definitely, if you don't have implemented, I recommend doing so. All right, let me see. I'm just getting some questions here. Tim, thank you for the question. Is there a legend somewhere for all icons? I don't believe there is, but it's as far as I know, there's only two. So it's the green asterisk, which means that's a new lead, and then you have that hot flame, which means it's a hot lead. So I think that's pretty much it for the icons. But yeah, John will definitely put in the link to the Zolo Academy if there's something I don't know about there. All right, so let's talk about calling buyers and having a conversation with them about their search criteria. So a lot of you here have probably done leases, and we're very familiar with those pre-qualifying questions, hopefully, right? You're wanting to make sure that a lease lead has good credit and enough income to support the amount of the rent. So now what do we ask buyers? So there's an acronym that I'm going to share with you. You guys can find this on the internet, maybe download it somewhere, have it on your next to your computer where you make your calls so that you remember to ask these questions. So the acronym is LP Mama. So what is it that you want to be asking your leads? You want to confirm, of course, their location. So, that can be pretty self-explanatory. If they are inquiring about a property that's in Mississauga, that's probably going to be their location. But maybe you have a buyer who's considering multiple areas. So hopefully they're not an hour away from each other. So you can help them in all those areas, but definitely have a conversation with them about location. Ask them about price. Ask them if they have been pre-approved, if they've gone to their bank. I'm kind of jumping ahead because that's also, the mortgage question. You want to know if they've spoken to a mortgage broker. So you want to know what price point they're in, because that actually might dictate what area they can shop in, right? If they say that, they have a $500,000 budget and they want to find something in Mississauga, that's probably not going to be realistic, right? So, you would have to adjust their area probably based on their budget. Also asking them about motivation. So why is it that they're moving? So if they're just thinking about it, then you're going to tailor your services to their motivation. So if they're thinking about it, this is kind of a long-term goal, definitely engage in the conversation, put them into that email newsletter so you're staying in touch with them all of the time, because it sounds like they're not really ready right now, but they may be ready in the future. But maybe, you have somebody who is thinking about moving because they want to be in the right area before their kids go back to school. They're looking at a particular school catchment. Then you know that you're probably dealing with somebody who's looking to make a move, in and around the summertime. So, you might tailor your services a little bit differently for that client, because you maybe want to stay in touch with them a little bit more frequently than somebody who just kind of is thinking about one day maybe downsizing, right? So again, tailoring your services to their motivation. Similar to that, if it's a first-time home buyer, they're really excited, they just got a pre-approval, they want to move out of their parents' house, then maybe that's somebody that you talk to every weekend. So find out what their motivation is so you know how you can help them best. You don't want to be calling somebody every week if their time frame is 2 years from now. All right, definitely asking them if they're already working with an agent. You don't want to step on anybody's toes. Sometimes people think that we are the listing agent. So they call us wanting to see a property because they think that we're involved with the property. Just making sure that you specify that you are a buyer's agent, you specialize in buyers, and explain to them what that means and why it's advantageous for them to work with you instead of reaching out to all of the listing agents. One answer that I like to provide is that, I will schedule an itinerary for you on Saturday, and we will look at properties back to back in geographical order. So I'm going to do all that legwork for you, so you don't have to call the listing agents and have an appointment at 2 and an appointment at 4. So again, that's kind of how I'm going to help. So that's something you guys can say, but definitely making sure that they're not already working with an agent, and even, maybe asking the question twice, because I think a lot of times people say, oh yes, I'm working with an agent, because they don't want to engage in that conversation. So maybe ask them, are you working with an agent? And if they say yes, just verify, have you committed in writing to working with an agent? And if they say, oh, well, no, not yet. Okay, great. Let me tell you how I can help, right? And then you have that conversation about your services and what you would do as their buyer's agent. Also, of course, if you wanted to get into the conversation about the listing agent and how they represent the interests of the sellers, they really need somebody on their team. I already touched on mortgage, definitely finding out if they have been pre-approved, but let me just say this. If they say that they are not yet pre-approved, but they have a good idea about what they, may qualify for, that may or may not be true. But instead of just giving them a mortgage agent, referring them to Zolo Mortgages, go to the in-person meeting. because definitely they'll remember you more if you took the time to meet with them. If you just pass on a mortgage broker that you think can help them, that's great. Thanks so much. But the chances of them coming back to you are now less than if you had taken the time to show them a property. And who knows, it may be in their budget, it may be nowhere near their budget, but at least you have that face-to-face and you're going to be more memorable. So definitely going to the appointment. So that's the last one there. Scheduling the appointment as soon as you know that everything else, you've asked everything else. So LP Mama is an acronym that you can think of hopefully off the top of your head that will help you, with what to ask buyer leads. All right, so I'm getting a question here from Sonia. How to deal with buyers when they tell you if you are not listing agent, then they don't want to deal with you? Yeah, great question. So sometimes there are buyers who, won't listen to you and just want to deal with the listing agent directly. It is definitely not in their best interest to work with the listing agent. The listing agent is trying to get the most amount of money for their seller. That is who the listing agent has as a client. Yes, the listing agent can work with a buyer as a customer, but their loyalty is going to be to the seller. If you have an opportunity to explain that, hopefully they listen, because that really is the truth of the matter. It's not in their best interest. They definitely want to show up with their own agent who's going to represent their interest and hopefully try to negotiate the best deal for them. So yeah, definitely having something that you can kind of say, practice that script over and over again, because definitely that's a question that we get all the time. All right, so one of the things you definitely want to be talking to your buyer leads about is the process. So having something maybe like this is a buyer's roadmap that I downloaded from Breakthrough Broker. If you guys are not familiar with that, it's a website I talk about all the time, breakthroughbroker.com. It is free. There's a bunch of things that you can download. You can download a buyer presentation, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you can also download this buyer's roadmap. So the buyer's roadmap is basically going to serve two purposes. It's going to explain to them what the process is, but it also kind of keeps you on point. So if you were to print out the buyer's roadmap, maybe this is something you email after the initial phone call, and maybe it's also something that you bring to the showing appointments the first time you meet with them. Because again, as I said, you can use this as talking points so that you can explain the process to them. So what are the steps? Of course, they need to meet with a real estate agent. They need to get pre-approved. Again, those two steps can be interchangeable, but hopefully you are meeting with them and hopefully they do get pre-approved at sort of around the same time. Once they're serious, once they know that they're ready to start looking, you can facilitate those showings. Again, you can send them an itinerary. You can make it really easy so that they're looking at properties that are available that do fit their search criteria all in a row, back to back on a Saturday afternoon. So once you get to the offer stage, really make sure that you're preparing your clients here. And right now, the market is super competitive. So you want to make sure that your clients know that, right? If you're showing them a property for $799, you don't want them telling you, yeah, we really like it. Let's put in an offer for $750, right? The client wasn't prepared and doesn't understand the market. So you really want to have this conversation with them at the beginning. So when you're making an offer, one of the things you might want to do is send this roadmap to them by email and attach those offer documentation. So you can go to the OREA website, and every single form that we use for an offer is there and it's explained. So every paragraph that is, very legally worded, there is writing in red that explains each and every paragraph. So maybe that's what you include, right? You follow up with that phone call. Here's a buyer's roadmap. Here are the forms, so that when we do get to the offer stage, you're familiar with all of this paperwork, right? That way, again, you're not sending them 50 pages to review and sign, with an hour before offer presentation, and then they have a whole bunch of questions, right? It's really about preparing them. So talking to them about making an offer, talking to them about how you're going to negotiate the contract. Again, right now, this is your opportunity to explain, we really have to go in firm if we stand a chance. Here are some tips and tricks that, I like to use, especially in multiple offer situations. I like to show up with a deposit check. Will you be able to go get a deposit check? I want to submit that with the offer. It's going to put your offer at the top of the pile. So, talking to them about what strategies you have used in negotiating, what has worked for you in the past, and giving them those secrets, right? So that they know what to expect. And then hopefully they do get their offer accepted. So final details usually involves, confirming the financing, conducting the home inspection. Right now, if it's a firm deal, they better get that deposit check delivered either that day or the next day, whatever arrangements you've made. And then at that point, it's a firm offer. the lawyers and the mortgage brokers take over for closing day. So just having something like this that you can have in front of you, that you can explain the process to them. All right. Okay, so let me see here. So one of the things you definitely want to talk to them about is comparables. So let me just switch the screen here. So if you have a condo that you're showing, these are great because there's oftentimes a lot of movement in a condo building. So you'll be able to see what a popular list price has been and what that particular unit has sold for. So you can give them comparables and show them. What I'm going to say right now is that comparables are a little bit different, because if you were to look at the exact same condo or the exact same, 3+1 detached home, same layout, same cul-de-sac, whatever it might be, and you're comparing it to what happened 3 months ago, right now that comparable isn't going to be relevant. What I'm going to recommend that you do right now is that you pull up the last 3 to 5 properties that have sold in the last month, and you show them what the difference is between the list price and the purchase price. And what you're probably going to see, depending on your area, is that, those properties that are listed for $799. So again, we'll use that example. Those properties are going for $830, $850, right? They're going for 100 plus over what's being listed. So again, prepare them for that, because you don't want to get to the offer stage where you have something that's listed for $799 and they want to offer $750. It's just going to be a waste of everybody's time. So letting them know what's happening in the market by showing them the most recent sales. So right now I would suggest doing comparables a little bit differently. Let me see if I'm getting any comments here. Okay, good. Feel free to chat with me as you go. If you've experienced this, let me know, because I think right now, definitely we need to be setting the expectations really clearly with our buyers so that they're not disappointed in our performance. It is just the way the market is going. So pulling up those comparables being, what has recently sold and what the difference has been. All right. So this is an example of what I was mentioning before. So if you do have, a property that has sold conditionally, this is where you would find out what the condition is and when it expires. So if they're interested in this property, but this is a great example. This is a condition that we would see right now, maybe with condos, is that the buyer is waiting for the status certificate to review that. And then once they do, they'll either they'll probably firm up the conditional offer, and then here it tells you the date. So this is definitely good information for you to not just tell your client, but to also diarize for yourself so you can follow up and of course let them know later on. All right, so let's just talk about the breakdown of that initial phone call. Just kind of high level here. Definitely making sure that you're introducing yourself as an agent with Zolo.ca. Just remind them what they inquired about and ask them how you can help. So this is going to be an opportunity for you to let them do all the talking. So hopefully you're able to obtain some information from them in terms of their search criteria. So what is it that they're looking for? What are they looking to move? So this kind of goes back to that LP Mama conversation. So finding out what their motivation is, and then turning the tables and asking them if they're familiar with the process. And it doesn't matter if they say yes or no, it's just your opportunity to transition the conversation into you going through that roadmap that I showed you earlier. So this is what we're going to expect. This is what's happening in the market right now. So definitely something that you want to be talking about in the initial conversation. And then if everything checks out, yes, they're motivated. Yes, they want to, buy something within the next 60 to 90 days. They've been pre-approved. Everything is a check, check, check. Then definitely asking them when they would like to see the property. Don't forget to also offer to show them alternatives, because yes, they may have inquired about that one particular property, but oftentimes there's going to be a few more that are sort of similar. So make sure that you are showing those to them as well. I'm going to mention something here. So offering to show them alternatives. Now, what happens if you have a buyer who says, you know what, I really don't want to be in a multiple offer situation. And you've spoken to them about really having that expectation that that's what we're seeing, that's what's happening. There are still properties, believe it or not, that aren't selling. And those are probably listed a little bit too high. So maybe go in and look at listings that are older, that haven't sold, they didn't have an offer presentation date, or maybe they did and they didn't get the offer they wanted. Maybe even look into terminated listings, right? Reach out to that listing agent. Is your seller still interested in buying? Because I have a client who's interested, doesn't want to, deal with multiple offers. I've heard agents do this. I've heard it works. So, that might be something to offer when you have a buyer who just really doesn't want to be in a multiple offer situation, because it happens and I don't blame them. It's a stressful situation. but definitely offering them some alternatives there as well. So showing them, offering to show them alternative properties, and maybe, you know, keeping in mind the older listings and maybe even some terminated listings. All right, so I'm seeing the chat go off here. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I know the answer would be to talk to your growth manager, but how do you start getting buyer seller leads more than lease? Yeah, okay, so great question. Yeah, so if you're only getting lease leads, I will just answer this right now. Here at Zola, we do require that you do 5 leases before your buyer leads are turned on, but it's possible to get those done quite quickly. Yes, reach out to your growth manager, see how you can get those done as quickly as possible so that your buyer leads get turned on. So I'll leave that there, but yeah, thanks for the question. All right, just a quick reminder, because I always like to do this. Don't forget about your CRM. Once you've spoken to a buyer who has come in through the Zolo system, just update your activity with a call. And then, as I said, don't forget to use the system to your advantage. Schedule a follow-up so that if you know that property has sold conditionally and the conditions are set to expire on Friday, schedule a follow-up for yourself so that it doesn't fall through the cracks. You remember why you're calling this lead back. So schedule it in maybe your diary, but definitely use the schedule follow-up button in the CRM. And then after that call, so after you've had that call, you've updated your CRM, send that email. So sending that email with a buyer's roadmap, sending that email, you know, with information about their, you know, confirming their search criteria, confirming the appointment that you're going to meet with them on Saturday. And then here's where we start talking about the buyer pre-listing, the buyer presentation. So this is when we start talking about introducing ourselves, really setting ourselves apart from maybe the other agent they spoke to on another website or whatever. Take the opportunity here to introduce yourself virtually. Maybe send a link to your website if you have an About Me page, maybe add that to your email. Maybe send them a buyer questionnaire so you really get to understand them maybe a little bit more than just the LP Mama questions. There's a questionnaire that I think I'm going to share with you here shortly. And then maybe send them a buyer package. So I'm going to show you one, but definitely you can download this from Breakthrough Broker. Again, this just sets you apart, right? This is going to make them want to work with you and make it a little bit personal, you know, especially if you're a newer agent and you don't have, you know, all of these sold properties yet that you can share with them. Maybe make it a little bit more personal. Maybe it's, you know, you like cooking and maybe that's part of your newsletter that you attach a recipe, whatever it's going to be. You know, if they also like that same thing that you're interested in, it's just going to make them feel like they want to work with you more. And that's what really increases loyalty. So make sure that you're sending a follow-up email. Yes, you're confirming their search criteria. Yes, you're confirming the appointment, but you're also talking about yourself so that they get to know you a little bit better. And then of course, in addition to that email, which you should be sending after the initial phone call and before you actually take them on showings, send that email. And then of course, also set them up with listings directly from TREP, your MLS system, right? So now they're getting emails directly from you every day, right? You throw that monthly newsletter in there and how could they forget about you? So yeah, be unforgettable. All right, so here's a sample email that you might want to send out after that initial phone call. Thank you for your interest. Further to our discussion, I'll be sending you listings that match this search criteria, area, budget, number of bedrooms, type of property. And then as a buyer specialist, I can show you any properties that might be of interest to you. This one's really short and sweet. I'm going to share with you a questionnaire that you might want to include. Or a buyer presentation that you might want to include. So again, I mentioned this here, breakthroughbroker.com. I have that highlighted for you up at the top. So if you do want to explore that website, everything is free. You can download it. This is already created for you, this template kit. All you have to do is just change your contact information and your phone number, and it just tells them a little bit about you. And again, it sets you apart and makes you look really professional. So again, we have the opportunity here where everything is virtual, everything is electronic. It used to be the case that realtors would spend so much money printing these out and showing up to every listing, or sorry, showing, you know, handing out these really shiny, you know, presentations. And now we have the opportunity here to make it look really good. You know, use Breakthrough Broker, use Canva. That's another one that I use, and it's free. I always like to recommend things that are free. So put something together that really showcases you, who you are, so that again, they know who they're working with. This is a huge purchase for them. So it's nice for them to know who it is that's representing them. So try Breakthrough Broker. You'll also find all kinds of other materials on there. So there is a buyer's package that you can download, and in it, there's a buyer questionnaire. You can really have a lot of fun with this. If you join any sort of Facebook group, real estate mastermind groups, people are always sharing their ideas about what they're including in their buyer presentation. It could be coloring pages if you know their kids are going to be, with them on these showings. But it might be just a checklist for them. If you're going to go see 5 properties, maybe you have a checklist for each property so that they remember later, okay, yeah, no, we didn't like that about property number 1. We like this about property number 3. So it just kind of keeps them organized. So any kind of material that you can provide for them, it's helpful for them in the long run. So making sure that you have something in place, whatever it is, make it personal to you and to your style. So the buyer presentation can be about you, your services, your processes. Definitely include the MLS listing if this is something that you're bringing with you to a showing appointment, but I recommend just downloading it from a place like breakthroughbroker.com so that you can just share it electronically. But I will say a really cool thing to bring to a showing appointment with you is also a buyer representation agreement, right? You had that amazing conversation. You sent them an email with information about you. Maybe by the time you actually go on that showing, they really like you. They've already picked you. They already want to work with you. So why not bring that buyer representation agreement and working with a realtor and get that commitment in writing that you are going to be their agent of choice and you are going to help them through this journey. So bring that with you. All right, so let me see here. What else do we have? This is a screenshot of a questionnaire. Again, Breakthrough Broker. There's a bunch of questions. So this is meant to be more in depth than what you would ask on that initial phone call. You don't want to take 45 minutes of their time, when it's not a scheduled call. So this is something that you might send to them, create it, put it into a Google form. So it's really easy for them to complete. And as I said, you can get a little bit more information about who they are, what their experience has been, have they bought or sold before, do you need to sell a property before you purchase another, are you in a lease, do you have pets, do you want a new home? So there's a bunch of information. This goes on and on. I think there's several things about financing, what they want in a new home. So there's a lot of information that you can gather. So definitely something that you can either have as part of your package or put it into a Google form. I think the chances of them actually completing it is higher if you do the Google form. So I also mentioned maybe sharing these explain forms. So again, you can go to OREA and this is what they look like. So of course, you guys are familiar with these forms, but just keep in mind, your buyers probably aren't, or they're not as familiar. Maybe they did buy 5 years ago. They're not gonna remember or feel comfortable with these forms as much as you are as an agent. So definitely share these with them, again, by email after that initial phone call, because it does explain really nicely all of the different sections in the in all of the forms. So not just the agreement of purchase and sale, but also the confirmation of co-op, so that basically it's doing some work for you, right? It's explaining these forms, which we're required to do, right? The deposit, for example, super important to talk to them about the deposit. You don't want to surprise them with, hey, you need 5% of the purchase price available within 24 hours of this offer being accepted. You want to make sure that they have that available. It's not tucked away in some account that they can't access or they need to request access to. So really, bringing this up, again, this serves not just to inform them, but also as a talking point for you, so you don't forget to talk to them about things, such as the irrevocable date, the completion date. So what's the difference there, right? And the rest is pretty, well, not self-explanatory, but you can let them read that stuff on their own. And then talking to them about what's included on the property or not included. So, really making sure that you are reading that MLS listing. It's important to have the MLS listing with you, because this is information that you're not going to see when you're showing a property and you've got the property pulled up on the Zillow app, which I also recommend doing. You're not going to see what's included and not included. So if they walk in and they fall in love with the chandelier in the foyer and that's not included, you want to make sure that you're letting them know that, because you don't want them to be disappointed when they move in and the chandelier is gone. So definitely talk to them about what's included and not, and that there are sections in the agreement of purchase and sale for them to know what's included and not included when they're signing the offer. All right, so as you guys know, there is the Schedule A. It auto-populated for you, so you don't have to recreate it, but definitely take a look at what the clauses are in there and make sure that everything that applies to that particular property is in the Schedule A. So for example, if you're showing a property with a pool, you want to make sure that, the equipment's in working order. So that's obviously not a clause that is in our general Schedule A. So that is something that you're going to want to add. So, just really watch the Schedule A, because this is meant for you to prepare. We have created a general one for you, but please look it over, make sure that it does apply to the property and that it's not missing anything. All right. Okay, so that's all about the forms, all about the contracts. So let's talk about showings. So hopefully you are scheduling showings in a geographical order. There is a company, oh, now I've just forgotten the name of it. I'll post it on the workplace group after this gets uploaded, where they'll schedule all your showings for you. So if you're at that stage, if you're finding that, you're scheduling showing, that's taking up half of your day, then, maybe outsource this, because they'll do that as well. They'll do the geographical sort of itinerary, so that that you are not bouncing around showing them properties over a 3-hour period when really you could have done it in an hour. So make sure that you are scheduling showings appropriately. Obviously, you can call the listing brokerage. You can book it online, whatever your preference is or whatever's available really on MLS, and make sure that you're just staying organized in your calendar so that you are recording when you're going out with these different leads, making sure nothing's overlapping, making sure that you've got the lockbox. I like to kind of have statuses on my calendar so that if I haven't booked the appointment yet, I have it in brackets that I still need to book. If I have booked it and I'm waiting for the lockbox, then I say to be confirmed. And then when I do get the lockbox, I replace it with the lockbox. So it's a good thing to have in front of you in your calendar. If you are looking at your schedule for the next day and you realize you still haven't heard from 2 properties, then you know who to call to confirm the lockbox code. So, just staying organized, because, you want to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. You want to have a system that you can grow into and that runs like a well-oiled machine, right? So make sure that you've got something in there in your calendar. And I do recommend also including the listing agent's information. Never fails, if you don't have that information, you can't find the lockbox code, the code doesn't work, or maybe your clients have a question that you can't answer. If you have the listing agent's cell phone number, maybe that's a quick message you send during the showing so that you can inform your clients right away about what the exact square footage is. I don't know why listing agents don't put the square footage. Sometimes they don't. So that's maybe something you might want to reach out to the listing agent about. All right. So just a couple of suggestions there. I've talked a lot about preparing the client, definitely talked about that roadmap. Here's another one that you can pull up. This one's also on Breakthrough Broker. I love how it matches our Zolo colors. So find this one on there as well, and maybe use this one instead, unless of course you have your own branding. But anyway, this is also kind of a circle that you can walk through the process with them. So just another talking point. Hopefully at the end of all of this, they've already picked you, right? They liked you from the start, from the very first phone call, and do go for that buyer representation agreement, asking them for the business, hopefully during that first round of showings. Sometimes you need to get to know each other a little bit more before they're ready to commit, but do ask for the business. The buyer representation agreement is really important. And if you haven't done one before, just a quick note about this, because there have been a couple of things that have come up where maybe you are meeting with the husband and the wife, and so you put in your BRA that your buyers are John and Jane Smith. But what happens if John goes off on his own to buy something? I recommend using and or, so that you are also representing them individually. So you're representing both of them and you're representing them individually. So just a little tip there about how to complete the buyer representation agreement, using and or for your buyers, so that you're representing them, as I said, both together and separately, and then making sure that, it's for a term of less than 6 months, unless you want them to sign that circle, or that circle for their initials, if it's going to be longer than that. And then last but not least, specifying the type of property that you're helping them with. And don't put GTA if you're a Toronto agent. That's going to be too broad. If there is a dispute later on about, how they purchased something elsewhere with another agent, that it won't be valid. So don't say GTA, be specific about the areas that you're helping them with. So is it Toronto and Mississauga? It could definitely be multiple areas, but specify which areas you're helping them in. So just a little tip about the buyer representation agreement there. All right, and there are no schedules usually attached to this. I know sometimes I get questions about that. Unless you want to attach a schedule of your services, you can definitely do that. But for the most part, just leave it blank. Okay, so let me see. So actually, this question is coming in, and I can see that it's actually timely. So with the buyer representation that we just talked about, the question coming in is, one of my clients wants to book a new house in construction and the builders won't encourage agents. How to handle this? If you have a BRA, the BRA actually specifies that if the seller does not pay the commission or is not willing to pay the commission in this case, then basically you're asking your buyers to pay the commission. So it's something you can enforce. I know a lot of realtors don't, but that's how I'll answer that question. It is in the BRA if you wanted to go that route. All right, so here we go. Let's talk about preparing the offer. And a couple of things really important here for sure, especially right now in this market. Call the listing agent. Let them know right away that you're going to be preparing an offer. Ask them if they're going to be accepting preemptives. Ask them if they have received any preemptive offers. Again, I'm making the assumption here that they're holding off on offers because again, that's the norm right now. So definitely make yourself known to the listing agent. The sooner you can do that, the better, because then they are going to remember you in the process. And hopefully, hopefully you get your offer in there first, and hopefully you're the last one standing also. So definitely make friends with the listing agent, ask questions, find out what the sellers want, definitely communicate with the seller and see if you can get any tips. It's surprising. Sometimes, you just do a little bit of digging with the listing agent and they'll tell you, they can't tell you exact price, of course, but they can tell you, they can give you some tips. So, you might want to ask, have you had any offers? What are your sellers hoping for? You can ask the question, see what information you get back. Sometimes listing agents will say, well, I can tell you that they had an offer for, over X amount of money and they rejected it, right? So right there, okay, I can't go in with less than that. So again, it's very tricky because we're not supposed to say certain things, but sometimes listing agents will give you tips. So definitely call them, definitely develop a relationship, see what kind of tips you can get so that you can inform your buyers, like, listen, we're gonna have to go to 1.7 because it's listed for 1.499 and they've already gotten offers in that range and they've been rejected. So whatever the situation is, whatever intel you've been able to capture from the listing agent, that's good information to have. So share that with your buyers, of course. Yeah, be prepared to negotiate right now in this market. Be prepared to go up even more. So talk to your buyers about what it is that what their max is, what they're willing to do, what they're comfortable doing. And hopefully, if they do have a budget of 1.7, that's great. Don't be looking at properties that are listed for 1.7. Look at properties that are listed for less than that. So just because, again, that's the nature of the market we're in right now. Everything is presented online right now, especially with COVID. So presenting in person is not really a possibility, although I have heard of agents presenting virtually. So doing a Zoom call like this and presenting to the agent and the sellers during offer presentation time. So that is definitely a new thing given our times right now that we're in. So, if you want to brainstorm on that, we can definitely talk about that. And then even doing like listing presentations is something that we can do virtually. But anyway, that's an option. But everything, generally speaking, is going to be done by email. So really get creative. Don't toss out old ideas. The old ideas being, sending a picture of the family, sending a letter from your buyers saying why they love the property. Those are kind of old school ideas, but they work, right? How else are we going to introduce our clients virtually? Get your clients to write a letter. You'll find more information than you probably even knew, depending on how long your relationship has gone on with these clients. But, I've seen situations where the buyer sends in a buyer letter and they say they love the home. It's the area where they grew up. And, she's expecting, and this is, they need the 3-bedroom, and you had no idea that your client was expecting, right? So you can learn a lot from those buyer letters, have them write it, deliver it to the listing agent so that it is presented to the seller. All right. Okay, so checking comparables. I already talked about this before. I know that there are some screenshots here where I show you how to do that. I will do a separate training session, I think, for actually pulling comparables. Maybe we can do an interactive exercise where you guys can tell me what you think it goes for or what you think this property should be listed for. So we'll do a different session when we're talking about comparables. I'm actually just going to get out of here if I can. No, I can't. Because I do want to jump ahead. So just bear with me here. I just want to jump ahead to the presentation slide. So as I said, be creative, ask your clients for a family photo, ask your clients for an introduction letter, highlight the details of the offer, but really, this is where we get to do our creative writing. So definitely make sure, that you are putting in the subject line, offer to purchase, you don't want it to be missed. If you just put in the address, it may be a question about the property. Make sure the listing agent can make no mistake that it's an offer. So put in the subject line, offer to purchase, and then in the body of the email, you're pleased to present an offer on behalf of your clients and talk about them. If you don't have a letter of introduction, then make sure that you're, again, exercising those creative writing skills and talking about them. What is it that they do? What is it that they like? What draws them to this home? And yeah, I mean, I've heard of lots of situations where, people have mentioned hobbies about baking or whatever, and the seller is also a baker. Like, I've heard of those stories. I've heard of stories probably more prominently about, somebody moving out of their home. So sellers that are moving out of their home, but they're reminded of themselves when they moved into the home by, a particular family, right? Or a small family, that was their situation when they moved in. So they're just emotionally inclined to give it to, your clients. It doesn't always mean dollars, right? So it's not always the best price. It can sometimes be, who the seller likes the most. I've definitely been in those situations, heard of those situations where it's not the highest offer, it's who the seller liked the best. So, you don't know them, you don't know what their hobbies are, but, say as much as you can about your clients, and hopefully there's something there that resonates with them. All right, so how are we doing so far? I do have a little bit here about multiple offers. So there is a lot to talk about with multiple offers. I think I've kind of spread that out throughout today. But definitely, how do you know that something is going to go into multiples right now? You can pretty much bet on it. But, it used to be the case, and it still is, if you have that magic number, $9.99, $7.99, that's probably going to go into multiple offers. But right now you can see right in the brokerage remarks when they're accepting offers, and they tell you whether or not they're accepting preemptive offers. So that's a pretty good telltale sign that you should expect multiple offers. All right, so yeah, as I said at the beginning, really make sure that you are coming in as strong as possible, telling your clients it's really important to have a firm offer. Be creative with your purchase price. Again, if we have something that's listed for $9.99, or maybe I'll use a different example, $7.99, and you offer $8.50, there's probably going to be a lot of other $8.50s in there. If that is truly the budget, maybe go with $8.53, right? Something a little bit different, because that way you're not matching another offer. The chances of you matching another offer at that price is pretty low. So just upping it with an odd number will increase your offer and not make it that easy round number that other people might have. Giving them the closing date that they want, no conditions if possible. I'm just going to quickly note here a couple of important ways. If you are going to go in with a firm offer, you want to make sure that you have you can take them out, but you want to have the conditions in the Schedule A, cross them out, and have your client initial. In addition to that, or alternatively, you can have them sign Form 127. So if you did want to delete those clauses from Schedule A, make sure that your clients are acknowledging that they know that they're submitting an offer without financing, without the condition of them, having to confirm their financing, without them obtaining a home inspection report. So make sure you're getting the initials on this acknowledgement form, because you don't want them to say to you later on, oh, I didn't really understand that this was firm and I want out. No. So get them to sign the buyer acknowledgement Form 127. And then also, in the offer, you can have it crossed out and they can initial it. All right, so let's talk quickly about closing here. So once everything does get accepted, that's always exciting, celebrate, have an email. Actually, I'm not sharing that in this presentation, but have a congratulations email that you send to your clients immediately after, in closing, not just the accepted agreement of purchase and sale, but also the MLS listing, because they're going to need to send that to their mortgage broker. So just know that, be the realtor that knows that, and send the accepted offer and the MLS listing, and then maybe next steps, right? Who's your lawyer going to be? I do have a standard email that I'm happy to share. I will include that on the workplace group. So once this gets uploaded, I will comment in the workplace group and I'll attach that congratulations email. So just remember, of course, if there were conditions, which, again, isn't the case right now, don't forget to submit the notice of fulfillment or the waiver, whichever is applicable, when that actually happens. So you can't miss that date. If you have 5 days to fulfill financing, for example, or to confirm your financing, in other words, you must submit this to the listing agent on or before the 5-day deadline. If you don't, your offer falls through and maybe they take the next one in line. So if you decide not to proceed with a condition, such as an inspection, maybe it was in your offer, they accepted it, and then you decided, you know what, we're not going to do the inspection, we're comfortable moving forward, then you can just sign a waiver. So that's the difference between the notice of fulfillment and the waiver. So just know the difference is notice of fulfillment means you've done it, you're satisfied with it, and waiver means you didn't do it, you're taking it out of the contract. So those are the differences there. Use what's applicable. Again, right now, you're probably not seeing a lot of these forms. And last but not least, we have the closing checklist. So again, as I said, email the accepted offer to your clients. Make sure that you're also sending the MLS listing. They must deliver the deposit check. Right now, a lot of wire transfers are happening, which is great. Make sure that they send you a screenshot of the receipt or the email that they receive, whatever the case is. Making sure that mortgage brokers and lawyers, they all have the accepted offer. And then we're not emailing our paperwork to the deals department. That's in web forms. We upload everything to the checklist. So join me tomorrow for web forms and AuthentiSign, and we'll talk about that. And then stay in touch with your clients. Don't forget about them. You have an accepted offer, it's exciting. Yes, the lawyer takes over, the mortgage broker takes over next, but maybe you jump in there with some reminders, right? Reminding them to get their insurance, to transfer utilities. Maybe you recommend cleaners for their current place that they're moving out of. Maybe you recommend movers. So, just kind of stay in touch with them during the whole process. Definitely make sure to purchase a closing gift. We can get creative with ideas on that as well. And then just stay in touch, really. Just stay in touch beyond that, because, you want them to not just refer you, but use you in the future again as well. So that is all about working with buyers. I'm sure there's lots more, but let me know if you guys have questions or any ideas. I'd love to hear from you guys if there's something that you're doing to really increase the loyalty from the buyer leads that you're getting. I always like to hear about that. Or the process. Let me know if you have questions about the process or things that you can do at the offer stage. I think we've got a few minutes. Yeah, we have a few minutes. I feel like I talked right through that. So let me know if you guys have any questions or comments. Yeah, you want me to go back to the last slide? For sure. So so that's the closing checklist. And as I said, sorry, just disregard this. You do not email the paperwork to the deals department. It does get uploaded in web forms. So tomorrow I'll be doing web forms. I think I promised to do web forms through Matrix tomorrow. So I'll be figuring that out today because I chose Stratus. So if you want to see how that works, come join me. We'll figure it out together. Absolutely, no problem. My pleasure. All right. Oops. I'm going back up accidentally here. Awesome, my pleasure, you guys. How can we access these slides? Yes, so this does get recorded and it gets uploaded to our YouTube channel, and it does get posted on our training channel as well, so that you know where to view it. And as I said, I will comment in the workplace channel in training. As soon as this gets uploaded, in the comments, you'll see my congratulations email to clients once they have an accepted offer. And I hope that you guys use that a lot. I hope you have lots of accepted offers. Is it legal to gift clients something? Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? There's some amazing ideas. I've heard from agents. One that I thought was really nice. An agent helped an elderly couple downsize, and they sold the big home and they moved into a condo, and they were going to travel. And part of the closing gift was gift certificates to Air Canada. Obviously, this was a few years ago, but that was really thoughtful, right? Like just tuning into what it is that your clients are all about and giving them something that's thoughtful from you. There are a bunch of companies that you can, just outsource this to, and charcuterie boards and that sort of thing. But it is nice if you can be a little bit in tune with what they're actually planning on doing. So lots of ideas, absolutely. So yes, absolutely legal, and definitely do something thoughtful. People know that we make, pretty good commissions on the sale of homes. So make sure that you are doing something thoughtful for your clients. And if you guys have ideas, or if you guys need ideas, again, that's what the workplace group is there for, right? So post a little bit about something. I know that there was another agent who, anytime she ever worked with a family, she got one of those They're like wooden kind of measuring sticks, but they were personalized with the family's last name. So that's something nice that you can kind of recycle if you're working with lots of families. So yeah, definitely do something thoughtful. And if you need ideas, post it on the workplace group, and I'm sure people will chime in with some suggestions. All right. Anything else, guys? Any other questions? Yeah, so I think John is sharing the workplace group there for you guys. So hopefully you are all a member of that. Join the different channels. I think that a lot of us are on the general discussion channel, but there are other ones there. So there's referrals, there's listings. If you have a listing, definitely promote it there. So yeah, there's lots of yeah, groups in there to join. So the general discussion would probably be where we could share some ideas on closing gifts. So yeah, it'd be nice to see what you guys have done in the past. All right. Let me know if you have anything else. John, any closing remarks?
I'll be sending an email around with links from all of the content that Jane put out if anybody wants to go deeper. And as always, if you have questions, connect with your growth managers.
Excellent. Sounds good. All right. Well, if there aren't any more questions, then I will leave you with that. And I do wish you guys all the success in the world. I know it's hard out there, it's competitive, but just stick with it. Feel free to reach out to me, to your growth manager, if you need ideas on how to strategize or what you can maybe do with your offers to make them better, stronger, and ultimately accepted.
And Jane, we have a few last minute questions. I'll just quickly one from Yagnazri. One of the clients is asking if I can pay the mortgage agent and facilitate the buying.
If the agent can pay the mortgage agent? Sorry, was that the question?
The question is, one of my clients is asking is if I can pay the mortgage agent and facilitate the buying.
Okay, so mortgage agents actually get paid by the lender. So that's not something that you would need to do. You can maybe explain that to your clients, but absolutely you can facilitate the buying. If they don't have a mortgage broker, Zola Mortgages is there to help, and they'll keep you up to date in terms of where they're at, if they're qualified or not. So definitely work closely with Zola Mortgages, refer them. But yeah, they get paid by the lender, so you don't have to worry about that. Any other questions, John?
If somebody is giving us false information, what can we do?
Great question. Well, that is a red flag. So if you are working with a buyer who is giving you false information, my suggestion would be not to work with them, especially if it is financially driven. Mihir joined us last time. If your clients are not qualified, then they're not qualified. If suspicions that they're providing false documentation in order to be qualified, then yeah, that's definitely a red flag. So not somebody you would want to work with going forward.
That's it for questions. Thank you. Back to you, Jane.
All right. Well, thanks for those questions, guys. So yeah, if that's it, then I will leave you there. And hopefully I see you guys on the next webinar. Again, on Thursday, Home Inspector Michael Schmidt will be here. So I hope to see you guys there. Have a great day, you guys, and good luck out there with your buyers. Bye, everyone.